Hi, it's Chris Titley, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Josh Brown. Josh, thank you so much for being part of this series.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me, Chris. Pretty excited.
Yeah, no, this is your second podcast, I believe. So let's. It's been a while between innings, apparently. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think my first one was back in maybe 2023 when it sort of all kicked off. So,
yeah,
no, happy to be on
awesome,
board.
mate. Awesome. Now we're sitting here on the 27th of March, 2025. How's your 2025 been so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Sort of just moved back up to Brizzy, just family stuff. So, moved back up from Melbourne. Obviously having a Vic contract, but off that now. So, yeah, pretty excited to see what lies ahead.
Mate, and a big move to Melbourne. How was the first season living, getting into the new city, getting to know the transport, the grounds, the people? How did it all go?
Yeah, I really enjoyed living down there. I think the only bad thing I would say about the place was the traffic is just mental. So, but other than that, like I really enjoyed it. The people were lovely. Like the Renegades, obviously Victoria, they were all so supportive and very welcoming. Made me sort of feel like I was at home.
How did you go with the indicate the right hand turn? You had to go into that far left lane.
Oh yeah, the hook turn. Yeah, I avoided them at all costs, so that was good. Yeah. I drove an extra 10 minutes just so I didn't have to do one.
It's a bit tricky sometimes to navigate. And mate, are you a coffee man? Did you get into the coffees down there?
A little bit, but not too much. Like I'm pretty easygoing. I'm pretty happy with an instant coffee. So
yeah. And mate, with coming back to Brisbane, did you end up getting a little bit of Cyclone Alfred at all?
Yeah, I got back, I think, the week before. So I was pretty lucky that I drove back up when I did to sort of avoid having to come through that. But we were pretty safe from where we were. We had power the whole time and everything. So.
Oh, nice, excellent. Now, the love of cricket, when did that begin? And do you remember a sort of an age or a time in your life where you sort of picked up a bat or a ball and said, this is a pretty good sport?
I reckon it was probably, it would have been under 13s when I sort of started with some mates from primary school at the time. Because I think I was only 11 when I was playing under 13s. And because of my age, like birthday. And that's when it all sort of began. Then mum started working at an indoor cricket centre. And then I started playing, 4 games indoor cricket a night from when I was 12 to 16.
Mate, the indoor cricket, different to the outdoor cricket. How did you go with that shot where you have to kind of like bounce it up and pick up the single?
I was horrible at that when I first started because I just wanted to hit the ball as hard as I could. So it took me a long time to sort of figure that out. But once I got that sorted, I just sort of looked at it like, it's just a forward defence, basically.
It's just a forward defence, but don't play a drive straight back to the bowler because you get run out, right?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then the outdoor stuff, mate. You realised that you enjoyed the game. You played the game. Do you play any other sports as well?
I grew up playing soccer with me and Sweppo played together for probably 6 years from when we were under 7s to under 12s, and then I played a season of rugby league, and then it's been cricket ever since.
Yeah, mate, and the soccer. Who was a better player? You or Sweppo?
Sweppo, kick off both feet. Yeah, midfielder. I was just a centre back that could boot the crap out of it. So
yeah, multi-talented Sweppo.
Yeah.
And mate, the love for cricket. Did you end up getting selected in some of these rep teams along the way? Did people notice you, or you just sort of just casually drift along?
Not really. Like I played Taverners when I was sort of 16. I can't remember what it was back then. Maybe under 18s, but it was good fun. But that was probably the highlight of it. Other than that, I just sort of played for fun.
Yeah, mate. And what did you enjoy most about cricket at an early age? Was it the batting, the bowling, the teamwork, etc.?
It was probably definitely the batting. I just used to love going out there and trying to hit it as far as I could. I mean, I still do now, but back then it was sort of a new thing that people weren't seeing too much of.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the emergence of 2020. What season were we in? 14, was it?
Yeah.
And it would have been when you were probably, around about the time you became an adult that 2020 was a thing, being 18, etc. What was the memories of the early 2020 for you?
Oh, I remember like Gilly, having Churchy on the back of his shirt, thinking that it was all just a bit of hit and giggle, like not expecting it to sort of blow up to where it is now, which is pretty cool. Like when you look at it, it's I just remember those good old days.
Yeah, no, did you get out to the Gabba much early on and sort of idolise anyone or look at someone and say, I want to be like them?
I always used to watch Gilly. Like every time he was playing, I'd be watching him. Even when he was playing in the IPL, when I was in high school, Mum would be go to bed, and I'm like, nah, I gotta stay up and watch Gilly play. And it'd be good if they batted first, and I'd go to bed after he got out. But if they fielded first, I'd still have to wait
You
and
still have to
watch.
wait, yeah, wait and watch. And I remember there was a World Cup innings. I think it would have been he opened the batting in one of the one days, and he got
Yeah,
100.
yeah,
I can't was it against Sri Lanka? I can't remember. But anyway,
yeah,
outstanding player and clean hitter. Now Gilly was also a keeper. Now
yeah.
I've done a little bit of research on you and looked up your play cricket stats, mate. And I noticed that you did have a little bit of a dabble behind the stumps.
Yeah, I sort of filled in when people couldn't do it. I did it a lot when I was playing indoor cricket. So sort
Yep.
of got obviously a bit faster in indoor cricket, but that was only because I could catch it and then throw the stumps down at the other end, where some of the other boys couldn't.
Yeah, right. And also, throughout your career, you've also been a little bit of a bowler, which came to fruition this year. How did you go this year, getting the ball in the Big Bash for the first time?
Yeah, I was petrified to be honest. I was because I hadn't really been bowling much over the last 3 years. It's sort of been transitioning to an off-spin bowler. And then Chief threw me the ball, and he's like, "What do you want to do here to Woodsy?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm just going to try bowl Yorkers, straight Yorkers." And I don't know if you remember, the first ball I bowled was a
It's
bumper.
a bouncer. Yep, I
Yeah,
remember. Yep.
yep. I think I was
I think
that
he got some
nervous.
commentary. One of the fielders went, "What's he bowling?"
Yeah, that was Rooster. Yeah. So it was meant to be a Yorker, but I was that nervous, the ball just got stuck in my hand.
Now, speaking of nerves, how do you go with nerves? Do you get a little bit nervous before you go to bat?
I used to, but not so much anymore. I guess it depends who you're batting with as well. Like some of the people I batted with over the time sort of, I know, made it a little bit easier, but nowadays I still have some nerves, but not to the extent that I used to.
And were you always an opener batter, or did you enjoy opening? Where was your sort of position?
No, I think when I first started playing first grade, I was batting nine, and then sort of even playing second grade, I was batting 5 to 7. Um, then one year in first grade, the 2020s, they were just like, "Oh, you wanna open?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And haven't looked back. Like I think I got 100 in my second innings opening, so it was sort of yeah,
Yeah, your trajectory to cricket stardom, or people who know your name, playing grade cricket and playing 2020, it was quite a fast rise. Do you sort of look back now and go, what happened, or was that always part of the plan for you to go, right, I know I'm good, my talent should come out and shine?
It wasn't so much that. Like even up until probably 2018, 19, I was just playing for fun, like playing with my mates. I think the 2 years before I started, or 3 years before I started playing grade cricket again, I went and played like sub-district cricket, just to have fun with my mates. Like
Yep.
even he's the reason, one of my best mates is the reason I went over to Norse and started playing my grade cricket. He went over and started playing there, so we we're playing fifth grade together, and so just sort of slowly took off from there.
Now, I'm going to do a little statistic question trivia for you around your highest score
Yeah,
in sub-districts cricket on play cricket.
yeah,
Do you remember it?
I do. I remember I got dropped second ball.
Second ball, right. Well, this is going to be a good segue into what the highest score was. Do you want to give the listeners the highest score, and I'll confirm it with the Play Cricket app?
Yeah, so sub district, I remember it was, I think 2013,
Correct?
because
Yep.
it was my first double ton, and I
We,
got 259.
oh, mate, you've nailed it. 259 on the 13th of July and on the 20th of July, which is my birthday, by the 20th of July, 2013. Who were you playing for?
I was playing for Albany Creek, and it was out on a synthetic ground.
Yep. And do you remember what Albany Creek made?
I think we were one for 347 after, or two for after maybe 50 overs or 40
Mate,
overs.
you're close. It was one for 364 off 34 overs.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Right.
who was the one wicket, by the way?
Oh, I got out. I snicked off. I remember I snicked off.
Yeah. And the number three was one not out, right? So
Yeah.
they didn't get. Now, also, I do recall that, and I don't know if this is fully correct, but the Play Cricket app said that you hit 34 sixes.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. It was a pretty small field, and
Right.
yeah, synthetic, you can sort of trust a bounce.
Yeah, yeah. And your best bowling figures ever?
I think it'd be 5 for 20.
Not quite. You got the fifer. It was
Or
five. I
5
believe
for,
it was 5 for 40. I think it was
oh, 5 for
41.
40. I
Five
was thinking of
41.
4 for 20.
And
Yeah,
you remember when that was?
that would have been probably another warehouse final, I think.
Well, maybe that wasn't recorded because it wasn't. It was actually in grade cricket.
Oh, right.
It was fifth grade
Yeah.
for Sandgate Redcliffe,
Yeah, right.
and you played against my old former club, West,
Yeah.
and you got 5 for 41, I think it was,
Yeah.
in fifth grade. A couple of
Yeah.
names you got out. I used to play with at West. Speaking of Taverners, you're under 18. We won an 18 champs there many, many, many years ago with one of the guys that you got out that game. So, mate, let's get on to the selection of the Brisbane Heat.
Yeah.
Go back to that time where you either got the phone call or the text or something. You want to give the listeners a bit of an insight into exactly how that came about.
Well, so obviously the 2020 max, I had a pretty good 2020 max. I think I went 150, big 100. And then we were playing a game at Toombul, and Bennett King, who was the, chairman of, or whatever he was doing, the selector at the time, said, can we have a chat after the game while we were fielding? And I was like, holy crap, like this is pretty cool. So that, we didn't end up having to get to chat after the game because I think we lost and we might have had a debrief, but I can't remember. But then we went over to Norse, and I think the next 3 games I got a duck just, thinking about what's going to happen with this chat. But then after that, they sort of went in for a meeting, just caught up with them and said, look, we're impressed with what you're doing, just keep doing it. So
yeah, right. And then you got the call up, I think it was in January of 2023, to play your first game. Is that right?
No, I made my debut the first game of the season against the Renegades in Cairns.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
First game at the Gabba then, I remember.
First game of the Gabba, yeah.
Yeah. First game non-stop. I mean, how did you go with that call and thinking, okay, I'm going to be playing Big Bash tomorrow? Did you sleep the night before?
I think I slept all right, but the day before I was, crapping myself. Like it was just like, holy crap, this is going to be awesome. Yeah, that was the first game. The second game, I remember Chuck come over and said, we're putting you in for this game because I think we were 9-5 during that stage of the season. It's like, we're putting you in, something's got to change. And then, lucky enough, what happened. I had all my friends and family there, and it was a packed out New Year's Day crowd. So
that's right. Yeah, New Year's Day, and you got 60 or 50 or something, didn't you? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think 62 off 23.
62 or 23 at the Gabba, and all of a sudden, Josh Brown and all those net sessions and all that hard work was sprung into the spotlight. How did you deal with it?
I remember that night, I didn't really sleep. Like, I think obviously after a game, you sort of struggle winding down, but if you do well, it's even worse. So I think I was in bed by probably 1 a.m., but didn't sleep till probably 5 a.m. Yep. You're on a plane the next day traveling somewhere else, so it was pretty hectic.
Yeah, and as a kid growing up, did you always have an ambition to play, to be a professional athlete? Did you have something else in mind?
Not really. I sort of didn't know what I was going to do. Like, my family, mum and dad split up at a young age. Mum sort of struggled with stuff, working a few jobs just to help get us by when we're going through high school and stuff. So it was sort of just like, cricket was just a release away from that. Just got to go and play, just have fun with your mates, and so no real ambitions back then. And then
and then you're wearing the Cooper t-shirt, the Cooper bats, mate. How did that come about, and what's that relationship? I remember you describing yourself a few years ago as a bat maker that just plays cricket, right? How did that fascination of being involved with the game and then obviously being a critical part in terms of bat making and a bat come about?
Well, in 2019, I went over to the UK and played a season over there. That was sort of when everything started going upwards. Then I come back, I got real sick, had glandular fever, so I didn't work. Well, I didn't get a job when I got back. And then Rod actually called our cricket club because they're sponsoring the club, and he said, look, I just need someone to come in and help, lift some stuff around, move some stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, fit enough, I can do this. And then ever since then, I haven't really looked back. Sort of started off with the signage side of it, and then he started teaching me how to get into the bats and everything, and then that just started growing and growing from there.
Yeah, right. And what is it about a bat that you love the most? Is it the grip, the wood, the weight, etc.? There's obviously different variables, but what does a Cooper bat do for you that other bats don't?
I think it's just like our slogan was "Your bat, your way" for a very long time. It's just you can get everything customized down to even like the handle. Like, so if I'm making a bat now, I know that my handle is going to be exactly the same, and the shape of the bat's going to be exactly the same every time that I do it, which is probably the biggest thing. Like having that consistency with your cricket bats is obviously going to help you perform better for longer.
And speaking of consistency at a 2020 level, it's to go out and get 100 or 50 every game is difficult because you're playing in different conditions and you're travelling, etc. How do you approach every innings differently? I mean, obviously with 2020, there's a lot more, probably a lot of less emphasis on if you get out, that's okay because there's another game as opposed to Test cricket. How have you found the sort of the different formats in your head of going, let's protect our wicket, but also I've got to get runs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a pretty big learning curve. Like I think most people don't understand. Like my job, for a couple of years was to go out and try and get 25 off 12 in the power play, and then just get the team ahead of the game. So I'm just trying to find the best way that I can do that consistently. And if I'm back to 10 overs and I'm in, then it's my job to carry on the rest of the innings. So that's been probably the biggest learning curve with the whole thing. It's just learning how, because you face some pretty good bowlers, and occasionally you're gonna hit one straight up. But if you get the chance to go on and get a big score, you sort of got to learn how to do that rather than just throw it away.
Yeah, in terms of bowlers, who's the fastest or trickiest bowler that you've ever played against?
I reckon it'd probably be Riley Meredith. Like he's just when he runs in, he's absolutely sprinting in. He's got that look in his eyes, like he just wants to bowl as fast as he can. But he's a very nice bowler, so it's tough to get away. I think he's had the better of me so far.
Yeah, right. And then, as you mentioned around various roles, and some of the other podcasts that I've had the opportunity to interview some of the athletes, they talk about the team mentality, but obviously the individual mentality you need to work on, but then your role within that team. The successful teams that you've played in, did you know exactly your role and the role of some of the other players as well to get that dynamic right to probably, overall improve and uplift your own individual game as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're playing in a team where you don't have roles, your mind's probably going to be a little bit more scattered as when because when you get out there, you're like, okay, my role's pretty simple. I got to try and hit boundaries. I'm not going to be the one that's going to be out there, nudging around trying to get the other guy on strike. And obviously having your role and your matchups, like it's pretty freeing, especially like that's what I noticed moving when I played with the Heat, having Buff as coach, batting coach. He was just like, it was so clear. And then even the same with the Renegades. So it's been very good.
And how do you go about picking yourself up from getting a first ball duck? You've gone out, you've probably whacked a few in the warm up. You're feeling good. Something happens, you get out first ball, you get run out for a diamond duck or whatever. The pure emotion of like you're out, you're gone, you're done for the game. Broadly speaking, unless you bowl sometimes, or field. How do you go with that? How have you gone with that over time?
I guess when I first started playing, I was like, holy crap, this sucks so bad. Like, I just don't want to do this. But now I guess I'm at that age where I'm like, it sucks getting out, but I mean, like, it's inevitable that you're going to get out. So it's like, if I can score as many runs for the team as I can before I get out, I'm happy with that. But if I get a first ball or something, then I'm just like, well, it wasn't meant to be today. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, and when do you reckon you sort of changed that mindset? And do you think it's been a better mindset for you?
I changed it a few years ago now, but yeah, definitely been a better mindset because it's just like, I think cricket's a very humbling game. Like you can go out one game and get 80 off 30, or you can go out the next game and get a golden duck. But it's just, as long as you know you're doing the right things behind the scenes that people don't see, like you're hitting enough balls, you feel good in the nets, you still trust your process.
Yeah, in regards to growing up in different formats, now that the ideal cricketer is potentially someone that's either plays 2020 for a living or is multi-diverse and plays 2020 and one days and shield cricket and test cricket, etc. When have the move must be a little bit difficult for you, obviously growing up in a generation where there was no 2020 when you were 12 or 13, broadly speaking, I mean, apart from being in the UK. How have you managed that in yourself?
I guess with the way that I bat, it's always been, I've always been aggressive. So sometimes it's just learning how to tone it back in, red ball cricket, even 50 over cricket. I sort of haven't mastered that at all. It's sort of like you look at it, it's like it's a 10 over power play. You got two new balls. You're facing the best bowlers when you're opening. So it's just like, it's a bit tougher than 2020 cricket or even red ball cricket when you open. So it's just one of those tricky situations that I still have not figured out. I think it's just I probably haven't played enough one day cricket, so it's just one of those.
Yeah, and mate, the Big Bash. It's been how many seasons have you been in? 3, is it? I think in total.
3, so yeah.
3. And how have you found that experience of being a Big Bash player as the 2020 continues to develop? The crowds continue to get better. It seems like it's got a lot of momentum. How have you found the different seasons?
I've been loving it. Obviously, the first season, we got so close with the Heat, we lost the final. Then the second season, they shortened the season, and we had an unbelievable season. And then even this season, just going with the Renegades, like it's probably been my favourite so far. Just great bunch of blokes. There's so many games this season that were like sort of on the edge, which I think the crowds really enjoyed as well. So it's just, if the 2 of those games that we lose, we win, all of a sudden we're playing finals, and yeah.
And talk about yes, there was an unbelievable game in the final, the Heat, which you went down. Would have been a pretty distraught feeling in the change rooms, but at that time you'd come from a distance to get to the final, and I think everyone was very proud of you. It was just so close in front of a Perth stadium. You want to recall that game and a couple of the key moments, and I suppose after that game, bottling up that despair, or that, I suppose, that feeling to go, let's go next year.
Yeah. I think when we rocked up to the ground, the coaches, they put the newspaper articles up on the team whiteboard, which was just like Scorchers versus a bunch of nobodies, and so they gave us that little bit extra kick. And then when we got to 170 with the bat, like I remember the first over, obviously you're nervous when you walk out to bat and you're playing in front of, I think there was 55,000 there, but it was just a sea of orange. And then Jason Berendorf, the wicket was doing a little bit. I nicked it 3 times for 4. It's like on another day I could nick one of them and it gets caught first ball, and you're just like, yeah, right, maybe it is, it's our time. And then we put up a good total. Then we bowled pretty well in parts, but then I think from the 17th over was probably what cost us the most. I think it went for maybe 28 or 26 or something like that. Cooper come out and just absolutely whacked him. And then I remember Spencer was bowling the 19th, and I dropped one off him, off Cooper. But I mean, Cooper only faced one more ball after that. But a lot of people that don't know cricket sort of say, oh, you dropped the final. But I'm like, mate, that ball went so high. And it's probably still the coolest drop catch that I've ever had, because I never want to hear it again in my life. But when you hear 55,000 people roar because you've dropped a ball, it's, pretty wild.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, like a drop catch or anything, you got to realise that that's not the end. It may be towards the pinnacle of the end, but that's not the reason why anyone loses a game. And then to have the Heat, in that change rooms to spare, you give it your everything. You just didn't get there because Cooper Connolly played an unbelievable innings. To come back the following year in the campaign, and then to go on to what you guys did, was there a bit of motivation of that feeling? I mean, the Lions talked about it, losing the final last year. I mean, how did you go as a dynamic of a team the following year?
Yeah, I think because we had a very similar team, internationals were the same. Everyone was sort of very good with each other. Like, well, when I say very good, everyone enjoyed each other's company, which made it probably the best environment for the outcome. Like, everyone was mates on and off the field, and then it was just such a good bond. But then also the WBBL, like, because they lost their final as well, the same, like the following season. So it was sort of like, we want to show everyone we can do it. Like, we just don't want to roll over and then, go from winning or finishing second to then, not even making the finals. So we're pretty clear on what we wanted to do at the start of the season. And then when we started winning the games, it was a lot easier.
And then, mate, you got shifted to the Gold Coast for the game before the final or semi-final, whatever it's called. I can't remember what the Big Bash call it these days. But it was and you went out to bat and you had the innings, apart from the 250 odd in winter cricket, mate, you had the innings of your life where everyone's like, wow. Talk me through that particular innings for you, and also the team winning that game to go, right, we're going to the final.
Yeah, I think it was obviously a pretty special game, but just want to touch on the game before where I went out. We played the the challenger. So whoever won that got to go straight to the final.
That was
We played
the
against
Sixers, wasn't it?
yeah, and I went out and I think I got 15 off 22, and I was getting absolutely hosed by everybody. So then to go, to the probably one of the most important games, a knockout, and then to do what I did was pretty special. Like it was just, I sort of got to 110, and I was absolutely cooked because it was hot, it was humid,
It was humid. Yeah, I saw it.
yeah,
Everyone was sweating. Yep.
yeah, it was terrible. And then Renner's come out to bat, and I've got a pretty good relationship with him, and he was like, "You just got to keep going here, keep going for the team." So then it just kept it going, which was nice. And then winning that game, everyone, the vibes were high, because the season before we'd gone down to Sydney, we knocked them out in the knockout game in their home turf. So that we were just like, we can do this. Like this is our chance. Like let's just nail it.
And to during that innings, are you a person that looks at your score?
I was a little bit when I started getting close to 100. I was just like, all right, maybe I'll have to knock it around or wait for a real bad ball. But then, lucky enough, Boise threw me one up when I was on 95. So,
yeah, and did you you obviously hit a 6 to get 100? Did you think, a 4 would be nice, or you just went right? That's in the spot.
Yeah, I was just like, if he puts it in my slot, I'm going to hit it for 6. I remember at the end of the over, I was talking to Renners, and I said, if he puts one there, I'm just going to bang it. And he was like, yeah, cool, love it.
And then as a batter in 2020, how often do you think about that? And you've got I don't know what they're saying is the milliseconds to make a decision as a batter, and you've got people like Riley Meredith, as you spoke about, that are charging in. What's going through your head in regards to is it short? Is it because some of those shots that you played were sort of off the back foot, but it could have been a front foot. It could have been, and you've adapted so fast to that ball speed. What do you reckon? And my question's a long-winded question. What do you reckon one of the keys is to batting into 2024?
I reckon my biggest key, my biggest learning curve was I for so long I got stuck on trying to be the batter that people wanted to see rather than just being true to myself. And obviously the biggest one is just hit the ball where it's meant to go. You can't be getting balls on fifth stump and you're trying to flick them over mid-wicket. It just doesn't work. So I think that's what I did really well in that game and then the following game.
And do you reckon you get to 50 sometimes and there's a little bit of a, I'm tired, I'm knackered, I've done a pretty good job here, I've probably exceeded what my team has wanted me to do. If I get out, I get out, and you're okay with that? Or is the mentality just to keep going?
Well, you never want to get out. I think my mentality, if I get to 50 in my role, it's just to keep going. If you start to get closer, I remember this year there was a game against the Strikers where I probably should have knuckled down a little bit and pick my matchups a bit better. But we always every team I played in, it's just been huge on your matchups. If you get a matchup that you think you can take them down, you can get that big 22 run over. You gotta go for it.
What I've noticed in some of the 2020 games is the stretch from chasing down a total has become it's 6 and over, 7 over, 8 and over, 9 and over, 10 and over to get. And then it's it's 13 or now it's 14. But then teams come from that. How have you found growing up thinking that almost anything's possible in 2020?
Yeah, a big believer of that because, all it takes is one person to have a day. If they go out, get 100 or 40 balls, all of a sudden, your team's got, even if you're chasing 270. So it's IPL. It's obviously you need someone to have a real big score, but I just believe anything is possible in cricket now. Because if you look at it, 15 and over is, depending on what ground you're playing on, it's 2 sixes and 3 singles, and you can afford a dot ball. So it's, depends on where you look at it, I guess. It's just one of those.
Yeah, and then going to the finals, such a big build-up for you. Your name's thrusted everywhere in the press, in the media. You go out to the final again. The expectations on your shoulders, did you feel it?
Not too much. Going to Sydney, SCG hasn't always been known as being a batter-friendly wicket in the 2020s. Even when the first 2 years, everyone last year was absolutely beautiful. But, the first 2 years, it was a low turner, the first final we played there. And then obviously the grand final last year, it wasn't the best wicket. So we're just all right, we sort of set a total, and I was batting with McSweeney at the time, and we'd obviously played a lot of club cricket together. And he just kept on me because I was like, mate, I'm struggling here. Like, I think I'm just going to start slogging because I just can't hit the ball. But he just kept on me and kept on me. It's just like, if you get out, just think about how hard it's going to be for the next bloke. So, yeah, even when I got out that game, I was pretty upset because I was like, I've just left another, hitting the ball so well, I've just left another big score out there.
Yeah, and then the jubilation of getting that title after the year before.
Yeah.
Talk us through that sort of the dopamine hit that it's all worthwhile.
Unfortunately, I was off the field when we took the final catch. I was battling a pretty bad injury at that stage. So it was, after the season before to then have that happen was, it was incredible. I mean, even going to see Jimmy and then he was tearing up, Sweppo was tearing up because obviously they've been in the club for so long. And it was incredible to see what it meant to everybody. And, I carry around my ring. Like, I absolutely love it. Like, it's something that you're never going to forget.
And then from that season, Josh Brown's hot property in 2020 globally. How did you go with sort of managing offers and looking at a little bit of stardom for you, camera shoved in your face? I can sense in the podcast you're reasonably quiet. But to have that media attention, how did you deal with it?
It's taken me a long time to sort of understand it and how to live with it, I guess. It's still learning is the biggest thing to have because you're always getting people message you on social media. Even if you play some of these other competitions, you're getting abused by people when you don't do well, and it's pretty full on. But now I laugh at it, like because you can't get upset at it, like. Yeah, just trying to.
You're strong. You reckon you're strong mentally now with the criticism because it is an era of criticism with social media and blogs and people snapping you, etc. Did you read some of that earlier on in your career a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I still read it now. I just find it pretty funny. Like the way I look at it is like I've come from the same place that probably some of these people have, and I'm living their dreams. And they're upset about it. Like that's probably the easiest way of looking at it for me. Sort of puts it all in perspective a bit more. But then, like, I'm the first bloke that will stop and have a chat with anybody. Like, going on the Bulls Masters tours, been to Chinchilla and Bundy, and absolutely love going on them because I get to go out to the communities and get to meet all the locals. And we always have a good time, which is the best thing.
Yeah, mate, and engagement with the community and stopping to have a selfie and signing autographs to the kid. Probably all those things, apart from the selfie thing, but all those things when you were growing up is sort of, seeing these players like Adam Gilchrist. Imagine the fandom that you would have got as a kid. I don't know if you ever met him or not as a kid. Probably met him now. But how did you go with that sort of stardom, people stopping you and say, hey, Josh, well done, mate? Or, Josh, could I get a selfie?
Yeah, I think I don't want to big myself up at all, but if you speak to Rod or my manager or anyone like that, they'll probably say I'm one of the quieter, nicer blokes that you'll meet. So if it doesn't matter where I am, if anyone wants to come and have a chat, I'll go and have a chat with them. Like I'm pretty involved in some of my hobbies outside of cricket. That it's good because no one knows who I am, no one cares, and which is probably a nice release as well. But
yeah,
no, I do enjoy it.
Touch on that in regards to cricket being such a big part of your life, and Scoreboard, the podcast, is all about talking to athletes about their scoreboard of life, whether it is trophies or whether it is something else or whatnot. I'm interested to know what you do outside of cricket because you're still involved with the bat maker, but also how you switch off as well.
Yeah, like I'm pretty lucky. If I'm not at the shop making bats, I'll be probably out on the golf course, or I got one of my best mates from high school. We collect little toy cars together. It's something that we started doing in primary school and high school, and we still talk about it now. So that's a nice little switch off as well, because he doesn't care about cricket. Oh, he cares about cricket, but he doesn't care about cricket. He's not going to talk about it. And then fishing. Absolutely love my fishing. So
yeah, right. And you get into all the fishing tech. Do you like all the different drones and all that sort of stuff?
No, can't afford those ones. That'd be nice, though.
Yeah, and mate, so what is it about fishing you think it just snaps you away from, excuse the pun, gets you away from cricket, yeah?
Yeah, I think when I just got a little tinny, I take it out on the water. You're not on your phone. It's just you in the water. Sometimes my partner will come with me, and you just get to chill. Like it's just you're away from everything. It's just a distraction.
And mate, I'm going to talk about little hobby cars for a second.
Yeah.
What's your favourite car, and where do you collect them? Is it on eBay? Is there a website? Is there a little collectors club that you're chairman of that people don't know about?
There's a collectors club. Like there's a pretty big community for it in Brisbane, like just for whole wheels cars. Obviously now I'm collecting the higher end stuff. I love my Datsun 510s and GTRs and all that sort of stuff. So it's all, but they're getting pretty expensive now.
What do they go for? What is sort of like a really top end hobby car go for?
One of the ones I've recently acquired, only 3,000 were made in the world. So it cost me, I got it for a bargain for about 1,100 bucks. So that was, yeah.
Right, that's a fair few packets of Matchbox cars when I was growing up.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Because
all
they've
about the
released,
scarcity, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But now that Mattel, they've started not numbering their cars, so it's sort of becoming a bit easier to get some good cars. But obviously the older ones that I love are the expensive ones, which is a problem.
What do you reckon you and your mate's collection's worth?
Um, my mate is a massive Porsche collector, so Porsches are pretty, most of the ones he's got probably average 500 bucks a car. Um, his be worth just his cabinets alone probably 30 or 40. And then I've just got a little cabinet downstairs full of 15 to 20 of my favorite Datsuns and other castings, other than all the boxes I've got, which I couldn't put a value on it. I know that my cabinet's probably worth about 10 or 15.
Yep. And then when there's in the event of emergency, you go straight for your cars. You reckon?
No, I got a cricket bat collection as well, so
Okay.
I'm a bit of a nuff with that. They're not
And is
worth
that
as much
through
as the
the
cars.
eras, through the ages, or a modern day kind of
Yeah, yeah.
collection?
No, I got some through the years. I got picked up a Bill Lawry bat the other day. Managed to get 1987 World Cup signed bats, and I love my Pumas. So I got most of the Pumas that Gilly used to use, and
And
yeah,
mate, speaking of Gilly, it's interesting you mentioned him a few times. When was the first time you met him, and were you a bit starstruck?
yeah, it was my first season. I remember I met him in the tunnel as we were about to go up to do an interview, and I was just like, "Holy crap, this is unreal!" Because he was obviously my favorite player growing up. And it was unbelievable. I was too nervous to ask him to sign a bat for me that I actually bought in Melbourne on that day, just to
So
just
you're
to
a
get
bit
him to
sort of
sign.
like going, oh, no, no, look, I'm just going to be tough and act cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, holy crap! I'm almost wetting myself. I get to stand here and chat with Gilly, which is unbelievable.
And he's signed a few bats now for you.
No, only the one, or the one that I'll cherish. Yeah, forever. It was I think he might have used one similar. I gave it to him. He's like, I never used one like this. I'm like, oh no.
So
I was
you're
like,
like, oh,
I could have.
I've been duped on the collector's front, yeah?
Yeah, I was like, it's got your name on it. Use this one. But no, he was like, it's close. The old Ansett series, one of the ones
Oh,
that
yes, that was probably in late 90s, early 2000s. Oh, actually,
yeah,
when did Ansett, I was saying, when did Ansett go bust? It all sort of happened around the same time as the big global scandal in the US as well.
yeah,
Um, Ansett, I remember that. And I remember do you remember growing up watching the Australia versus Australia A series?
yeah, yeah.
It was
It was just
two,
like,
two quality good teams there. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Now, so breaking the cricket cycle, apart from being a cricket bat collector and a hobby
yeah.
car collector, do you read a book? Do you switch off? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you watch some Netflix? Like what's something? What does Josh Brown do in the off season? I suppose if there is an off season, to actually
Yeah.
sit on a Thursday night and go right. What's Josh Brown doing?
Some of the times it's just going to the range with my mates, or cooking a nice dinner and have a nice dinner with my partner and a brother. And we like op shopping. We like to just go out. She loves her James Patterson books, so I'm always hunting for the James Patterson books.
Yep.
Um, got a pretty good collection of them now, but I'm starting to get into the Lee Child, the Reacher series books.
Right.
But I haven't read a book in about 12 years, I reckon.
Yeah. No, I'm similar to be honest. So my wife got me one recently, and I sort of haven't started that. I just get a little bit bored, I suppose. Not bored, but more like self attention span. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah,
And how's your attention span being a 2020 cricketer opener, short and fast, bang, bang, bang? So you go, can you watch a 3 hour movie?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I reckon I could sit. I mean, there's been days when I was living in Melbourne when it's raining. You go train, and then I think I watched. What was it? I'm trying to remember the series. I watched a series in about 3 days. It was
Yep.
four
I'm li-
season series.
yeah, I'm liking the ones that only go for about 6 or 7 episodes now.
Yeah,
That are on Netflix now. Josh, in each episode, I ask someone about their scoreboard moment, and their scoreboard moment is a moment that they remember during their life, which it potentially changed the direction of their life. Something was very vivid. Something was potentially a driver, or it could have been
yeah.
something. I think Jason Kadee previously said it was the birth of his first child, which of course is a heartfelt moment. I'm wondering what Josh Brown's scoreboard moment is.
My scoreboard moment would probably, oh, geez, probably have to be going back to 2017, where I sort of one of my best mates. We looked at each other and we said, let's just go to the gym, 5 days a week, um, get really fit, and then from doing that was sort of my whole cricket started taking off from there. I wasn't as much of a bum, just playing for fun. It was just like, what, I'm gonna crack on and really focus on my cricket. And then I'd say within that as well was getting my eyes looked at because I always played cricket without, thinking about it. And then once I got started wearing contacts, I was like, holy crap, I can actually see the ball now.
Wow, I didn't know that. Do you reckon most cricketers get their eyes checked?
I reckon you should. I mean, there's a few blokes that I would definitely recommend they need to get their eyes checked, but they don't want to listen to me. But it was just incredible, like being able to actually see which way the seam's pointing, rather versus just a blur coming down.
And in terms of your reflexes and your ability to pick up a ball and its length and to hit it cleanly for six, you reckon that's come through just hitting thousands and thousands of balls, or was it like a bit like, oh, I actually turned the bowling machine up when I was 12 and facing 100 k's an hour then and going, oh, I'm used to this now?
Um, I've never been one that sort of hit a lot. I'm sort of getting back into full on hitting now, where I'll bat for an hour at a time. But it's like I'm always working on something different over that. I think it's just repetition and muscle memory. Like if you want to work on something and become really good at it, you got to practice it. And I read a quote once that says, "You don't practice something till you can do it. You practice something till you can't fail at it." So it's just, yeah.
And the creativity of the shots now in cricket, how have you gone with that and like trying new things and going, actually, I'm not very good at X, I'll leave it out? Or is it more like, I need to get better at X?
I mean, I think I'm sort of unique in a way that I like to think that the way that I play is sort of, if you bowl offside, I can punish you over the offside. If you bowl leg side, I can hit you over the leg side. And if you bowl straight, I can try and bomb you straight. Because I mean, reality is no one's going to nail a Yorker every time. So I probably don't need to add the ramp or, the reverses to the repertoire. But have played around with the idea of reverses, which has been fun, but still too scared to bring them out in Big Bash.
There you go. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Josh, I've got kids that play cricket, and I've got There's obviously they want to be Josh Brown, they want to be Chris Lynn, and whatever it might be in terms of Big Bash, etc., and hitting sixes at the Gabba and whatnot. What's some advice that you can give to cricketers as an observation? I've seen a lot of kids specialise at a young age, just playing cricket at the age of 12 and no other sports, etc. But what's some advice that you can give to little Josh, I suppose, now playing cricket?
Well, I think the most important thing that I've learned over the years is you've always got to have fun. You can't take it too seriously. Like in the end, it's just a game. And if you're not having fun playing cricket, then what are you doing? Like I know, even we talk about it now, you've got some of the best players in the world that they play because they have fun, not because everyone wants to win, obviously. But I reckon if you're not having fun, there's no real point in playing.
And have you had fun your whole experience as a professional cricketer? I mean, obviously it's not a straight line, but broadly speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you surround yourself with good people, it makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable. Even when you're not winning games, if you got good mates around, good teammates around, even just having good support from your family and stuff, it still makes it fun because when you're playing, you're doing them proud.
Yep. And cricket or being an athlete, a high performing athlete, is a finite period, and that's for everyone. Even LeBron James at 40 won't play forever. How are you thinking about that in terms of the future? And let's say we repeat this podcast in 5 years' time. Where would you like to see Josh Brown?
This is something I've been talking a lot about over the last few weeks with my manager and stuff. It's just I want to play cricket for as long as I can. Like good old Harry from West.
Old Steve Paulson, mate.
Yeah.
The great, eh?
Yeah.
So I played with and against Harry for many years. Yep.
Yeah. So, I just want to play for as long as I can, at the highest level I can. At the moment, I'm just going to get my body right so I know that I'm going to be right, to continue for at least the next 7 years. And then hopefully I can just keep scoring runs so I can keep getting work for those next 7 years.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And staying involved with the Coopers as well?
Yeah, always. I'll be back there as much as I can, which annoys some of the blokes that work there, but the boss loves it.
Mate, I'm just on Play Cricket now with Steve Paulson. What do you reckon these runs are on Play Cricket?
He'd be up, 18,000, wouldn't he? 19,000?
No, well, let's have a look here. We've got he's got two different profiles, but he's got the main one. Well, we've only got 10,500 here, but it's definitely much more than that.
Yeah.
With 1,700s, 56 and 312 innings. There you go, and still playing. At the tender age of 44 this year, I know that because he's my age and I played a lot of cricket with him. So staying in the game and obviously staying for having fun as long as possible. Yeah. Josh Brown, thank you so much for being on the Scoreboard podcast. I really do appreciate giving an insight into your life as a professional cricketer and also your childhood growing up and also your love for the game, some advice for kids out there to continue to play it and enjoy the game and what may come of the future. All the best in the coming seasons of the different 2020 formats that you play around the world. Looking forward to following your progress and looking forward to catching up.
No, cheers. Thanks so much, Chris, for having me. I've really enjoyed it.